Hello, Jim 12's here again. Today is the 9th of April 2026 and today I'm going to be reflecting on euthanasia. It's chapter 9 of my book, While We Were Sleeping, available on Amazon. I would love comments, questions at the end of this video. A discussion would be wonderful. So let's get going. Number 1. Psalm 90 verse 12 reads, "Teach me to number our days. Teach me to number our days." And to me this is a prayer for wisdom, to understand that we've got very few days actually. Our life is but a breath, and it's come and it goes. And are we making the most of that time? So I think that gives a upward perspective on euthanasia. In other words, life isn't ours, it's a gift. Number 2, when we believe in or practice euthanasia, we're actually denying God can raise the dead, and we're denying that he can heal even from terminal illnesses. So think of the story of Lazarus and how Jesus waited until he died before he demonstrated that God can heal, God can raise up. John chapter 11 verse 43. And also consider 1 Samuel 2:6, which says, God brings to the grave and he brings up. In other words, he determines when our days will be up, or whether or not we will know some healing and prolonging of days. Number 3, who gets to decide when I die? Who gets to decide? It could be me. In other words, suicide. And if you think about suicide, that is an act that somebody takes against themselves because they're concerned with self primarily, and they're not concerned with how they can use their life in service for others. I would argue that if our focus is service of others, then the issues of our own personal situation would become secondary. Now, maybe it's family and friends who decide when somebody's life should end. They're in hospital, they're in a coma, there's apparently no sign of any recovery. So the family and friends, out of compassion, they want to see an end of my suffering. Okay, that's kind, but you've also got to consider that it's possible that they're concerned about their own situation and they don't want to be bothered with looking after somebody who's in a coma, or paying for them, or visiting them. What if it's the state who decides when I should die? What about the cost to the state funds of keeping me going? Nursing staff, medical staff, hospital bedroom. I'm no longer productive, therefore let's call it a day, shall we? Call it a day. And I've often wondered, I'm receiving a pension now, but and I'm ever so grateful for that pension. But each year that I live, I'm taking more and more money from the state's revenue. And I guess there'll be people managing the budget who would rather I didn't. Number 4. Think about where the euthanasia policies come from. I believe they come from the left of politics. And if you think about Canada, which leads the world in euthanasia, they're extremely left-wing. Certainly are at the moment. And if you think about in Australia, where euthanasia has been introduced, legalized if you like, I haven't checked, but I'm suspecting that they're from Labour or Greens policymakers. Think about that. They don't want the burden of old age, unproductive old age. And finally, can I propose that we think about the fact that today we've got modern medicine so sophisticated, hospitals just brimming with technology, anything to prolong life. Now, that's good if you can have technologies and treatments that give the body time to heal. That's excellent. And I'm not decrying that. But because we've got so many techniques and facilities now to prolong life, it's making the decision making, not that we should be making the decision, making the decision making very complicated. For example, if somebody is actually alive on a breathing machine, are they alive? In other words, if you unplugged the breathing machine, they would not breathe. Therefore, arguably they died before they were put on the breathing machine. And finally, in this vein, I would suggest that we can draw a distinction between the administration of a poison to render us deceased, or we can consider withholding of a treatment that may not have been available 50 years ago, 100 years ago. So I would argue, and I suspect this could be a question, a discussion point, I would argue that the withholding of treatment is not euthanasia, but the administration of a poison is. I'll leave that with you. Anyway, I commend to you my book, While We Were Sleeping, a wake-up call for all Christians. God bless, and until next time, bye for now.